Madness in the streets, chaos all around us, and COVID-19 in the air you're breathing. Is this the future libertarians want? I submit that it is not. We are joined here on the Patriarchy Podcast with, arguably, the three most libertarian members. This should make for an interesting episode. I am Ethan Johnson, and we've got with us today...
I'm Edward, and as he did say, I am libertarian. I don't know if I'm as libertarian as these two gentlemen, but I'd like to think I'm pretty close.
I'm Jack, and I'm probably the least plugged into libertarianism, but I think I maybe wanted like the OG people of the patriarchy to be in it.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, anyway, this is Ethan's first podcast that he's having to record over over Discord because he is currently in California, and so is his brother Caleb. So, Ethan, tell us what life in California's kind of been like.
Well, it's been pretty good. I actually still haven't had a chance to listen to 5 or 6. So those will be fun to listen to when they come out. Let's see. So Caleb and I, we looked at Walmart and asked if we can get hired there, if they were hiring, and they were like, you know what? Yes, we'll hire you on the spot. Just fill out an application online. So we did that, and we came back and we got hired. So that was pretty nice. And we've been working there for a couple weeks. We work 2 to 11 p.m. Monday through Friday, so not horrible hours, not going to complain. And we're just unloading trucks and stocking freight, so it's actually pretty fun. So that's what life is like. Also, we're living in an RV trailer, so things are a little crowded, but it's temporary, and we've got a house that we're looking at. We're going to take a closer look this weekend and see if there's anything that needs to be repaired or anything before we make a decision on buying it or not.
How's the weather?
Pretty great so far. I think there's only been one major rain, but everything else has been pretty open and sunny and good temperatures all around. One thing I've really enjoyed is my grandparents live pretty close, so we've been going up there to their house up in Mariposa a couple weekends, and our cousins are there. Now, obviously, we're taking reasonable precautions, not hugging or touching and whatever. But it's just good to see everybody. So
Awesome.
yeah, things are pretty good.
That's good to hear. All right, so we have talked about coronavirus pretty heavily in several episodes, so only a little bit, yeah. The last episode Ethan wasn't here for, but we actually like forbade ourselves from even saying the word. We
Oh,
just
how did
we
that go?
it was the last episode was actually pretty good. I like to think so. It's not out yet, so I don't know
Yep.
how it's gonna look.
I actually put
But
it together last night.
yeah, Jack slaved over it trying to sync all our audios because we're each record this separately on our own computer. Um, but yeah, so all right, so I'll start off with the smaller story. So I had a pretty great, or I think it's a great business idea the other day, and by that I mean yesterday. Um, it's called Rent a Pet. Okay, so like this is brought on because my sister-in-law, my brother is not home at the moment, and so and she's kind of stuck at home. So he said, "Hey, why don't you just get a kitten to keep you company?" But my brother is not a huge fan of cats. So I was thinking, like, wouldn't it be great if she could have just rented a cat, and then when he comes home, they could just discuss it, and then if he really doesn't want it, they could just get rid of it. And I was like, man, renting pets sounds great. Because like, imagine if your little kid wants a dog, and you're like, I don't know if you can handle that responsibility. Well, now you can just rent a dog for him for a little bit, see how he does, and then if he does well, he can just adopt that dog. I think it's a great idea. So I need to get on this, but unfortunately I have no experience in pets, so I'd probably be terrible at it. So someone else needs to get
Yeah,
on it.
not a bad idea for sure. Our family used to work for Rented Chicken, and so you would, if you were going to be one of their ambassadors, quote unquote, you should be all equipped to have chickens yourself. And then if people want to rent, you just build a little coop real quick, put a few chickens in there, and they rent for like 6 months, and then they can pay an adoption fee after that and actually keep them if they want, or they can give them back to you, and they go back into your main pen. So you can be serving like, I don't know, 10 people at a time,
Hmm.
if you got enough space for all your chickens. So yeah, I'm just imagining that with pets, and I think that's a great idea, especially if it was like a bunch of dogs. They would get along great,
Yeah.
and then you could just rent some out from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great idea in principle, but I'm trying to think through all the liabilities. Like, what happens if the dog bites someone? Who's responsible? What happens if the dog dies?
Yeah.
How do you judge if it was neglect or if it was just, the dog had something wrong with it? Or cat?
Well, you could probably do an autopsy to tell if it was neglect or something. Like if the dog's stomach caved in on itself, you could probably be like, okay, you didn't feed this thing. We're going to sue you.
Have a special dog crime scene investigation squad?
Is this the future that libertarians want,
I
gentlemen?
would say so. I mean, it does this. This doesn't violate the NAP in any way.
The RAP crime squad? RAP standing for rent a pet?
The Rent a Pet Crime Squad.
Um, but I think, do you think it would make sense to have a trial period before you
Sure,
get a pet? Not necessarily for the
sure.
rental, just in general. Like, I'm adopting a dog. Should I have the chance to take it home for like 3 days to try it out?
Oh, you. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I
Should
can.
you have
That.
to, or should that be an option?
It should be an option, I think.
Yeah, sure. You can do that. Especially if you're someone who like me. I never had pets growing up, so I'd kind of want that kind of trial period before I really decide. Okay, I want to rent this thing or I want to adopt it.
Hmm.
Would you
Yeah, I get that.
would you rent out fish?
I could just sell fish. Like, what's the point of renting a fish?
Well, that's one thing I was going to touch on was you could do this rent a pet thing with exotic pets as well as cats and dogs. Like
Yeah, that's what
me,
I'm thinking. Like,
I've
start off
had
with cats
cats
and
and
dogs.
dogs. I know how to take care of a cat and dog no matter what kind it is, not too different.
Hmm.
But I don't know how to take care of a weird exotic bird
Like a
or a parrot.
snake.
That'd be fun to try for a few months. I don't know how to
Yeah,
take care of a snake.
yeah. I think it'd
I would
probably be
love.
great to start out with like cats and dogs, and then eventually move into like more exotic animals like birds and stuff. I think that'd be cool.
I think snakes are the easiest ones to take care of, in my opinion, because my family's had 3 snakes, and all we had to do is feed them once a month and change their cage maybe once every 2 or 3 months. That was it. Fill their
Oh
water when
wow,
they need it.
nice. Anyway, yeah, this is just a business idea I had, and I was like, this could actually work. Anyway,
Yeah, I would definitely patronize your business.
thank you. And you would do so voluntarily without any type of coercion, and I would not accept any protectionist money from the government.
Excellent.
Only as much as they had already taken from you in taxes.
That's
You'd be
true.
a repossessor. Oh, okay. I kind of had a question I was thinking about. Um, Maybe this will take a lot of thought. Maybe it won't. I couldn't really come up with a good answer the other day. So, in all this coronavirus stuff, especially with churches, in the first few weeks, a lot of churches were um, basically agreeing with whatever the government said. Like, all right, we're not going to meet in large groups because that would be harmful to the body of Christ. And whether or not this government mandate existed, we would probably take these steps anyway. So we're not going to worry about it. Um, but then now, more recently, especially, a lot of churches are saying, like, okay, starting May, we're going to go ahead and meet because this has gone on too long and we think the danger is past and churches should be labeled essential, blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
Um, all that to say, there's been a lot of churches around here in our area that are moving to online, which gives us a great opportunity to look at several churches in one day and kind of judge, what we want to look for in a church and what kind of pastors we like and don't like. Anyhow, there was a church that was helping a lot of other churches with technology issues because they had a really good online system and a lot of other churches didn't. So they were basically doing a lot of free stuff and helping out a lot of churches in the area with getting their sermons recorded and stuff like that. So I thought of an interesting scenario. Um, what if a Mormon church had a really good sound system and technology team, and they were helping out Christian churches throughout the area? I'm sure that everything on the news would be praising that Mormon church and saying like, "Yep, we're all in this together. It's great that they're helping out their fellow like you know, um, religious believers, with their issues." But if the situation was reversed and it was a Christian church that was helping a lot of Mormon churches or like helping out a mosque, I think the news wouldn't be so friendly. And I was wondering what you guys thought of the morality of a Christian church being nice and like, okay, here's some free technology advice or whatever, but to like a Muslim mosque or a Mormon church, to someone who is flatly against what a Christian church would stand for. Well, that was kind of a long-winded question, but you get what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. That's an interesting question. It's one thing when churches give out charity to people. I think that's great, and obviously it's a command. It's a commandment from the Lord to do. As for helping, like giving sound system equipment or technical advice to like mosques or Mormon churches, I don't think that's right for the church to do, because that's actively helping what you believe to be false teaching. And so even if a Mormon church would help us out, and that'd be great, I don't think we can justify it, like helping them to spread what we believe to be a false gospel.
Hmm.
And I of course believe in absolute freedom of religion. If you want to worship anything, go ahead, as long as you don't force it upon other people. And I mean like actually force, not just tell people about it. But as Christians, we also have to be careful of not purporting a false gospel.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Jack?
I agree. I agree that that technologically helping them purport their their teaching would definitely be conflicting or inconsistent with scripture. But yeah, I think there's a difference between, you know, giving the whoever it is, a rabbi, imam, I don't remember, do they have prophets in Mormonism? Giving them food if they're hungry is different than helping them like continue their message and stuff. I wouldn't be opposed to giving them money or food if they really, need it to live, just because that's, loving your neighbor.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. So I was trying to think of like what the church's response would be to the Christian church helping or not helping. And I guess on the one hand, they might take it as a slap in the face, like, wow, you call yourselves Christians, you're not going to help us with this. You've been helping out a lot of other Christian churches in the area, but you're not going to help us. On the other hand, if they had enough, common sense and they believed in freedom of religion and stuff, then they might understand, okay, we understand that that would go against your beliefs. So we're not gonna be offended that you're not helping us.
Yeah, and I would expect the same thing from, a Mormon or a Muslim or a Jew. They'd be like, well, these people, we believe they're false teachers, so why should we help them? I can believe that and respect that, and I probably think the same if I were one of those people. But if but I would not be against the churches helping a Mormon family if they were struggling, put food on the table. The church should absolutely help them, you know,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
because that's not spreading a false gospel. That's, being charitable.
Hmm.
Okay, now flip the tables and there's a Muslim mosque or a Mormon church helping out a bunch of other Muslim mosques or Mormon churches in the area, and a lot of the members of your church are very offended that they didn't help out your church with their technology problems.
Wait, the members of my church are offended that the mosque didn't help us out, or we didn't help the mosque out?
That the mosque didn't help you out.
Oh, well, I mean, I would tell them, I mean, that's the behavior you should expect. You know, they don't believe we worship the true God, so why should we expect their help?
Right. I'm just thinking about like what the news might say going around, like mosque refuses to help Christian church or something, even though that's something that would be reasonable to expect.
Would you ask? Would you feel okay asking or receiving help from them?
I don't think I would ask it from them because then that would give them the advantage to say, well, why don't you help us? Something like that. If they just like gave it to us out of the generosity of their hearts, I certainly wouldn't refuse it. But asking for it,
I don't know. I might because, um, like Abraham when he went and rescued Lot from those kings when Lot was captive, and then he took all the plunder back for the kings of Sodom and
mhm,
Gomorrah. He didn't take any for himself except what had already been taken from Lot,
mhm.
and then like food for his men. He didn't take any extra plunder because he didn't want those kings to say, "I've made Abram rich."
It's true.
So that could be something they would always hold over his head.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
if you did that, like even years down the line, the Musk would always be like, "Oh, in the time of crisis, we helped you," and that would always be something they could pull out.
Yeah.
Not that you're trying to play some bitter like politics game with them, but still, I don't know if you want to dig into that.
Yeah,
But that's probably beyond the scope of my theological knowledge or stuff like that.
this is such a first world situation. Anyway, like when we're talking about technology problems being like at the forefront of our mind and not like persecution, I think that's, I don't know, pretty blessed to live in
It
that
is.
society.
Yeah, but we're talking like, yeah, you're right. There are much bigger problems going on than just this, but this kind of fits what's going on in our country right now.
Yeah, it's still difficult to
Yeah.
talk about.
But speaking of, things going on in our country, I don't know about y'all, but me kind of watching how a lot of people react to the shutdowns and, Facebook's kind of just a war zone, feels like it. Even though I have friends that mostly agree on stuff, they'll argue about things, about, responses, whether the government's right, wrong, whether we should just obey it or not. And most of them are Christian. So it got me thinking, if I wasn't a Christian, how would my beliefs differ? Not just on, what's going on now, but just in general, like how would my beliefs differ? So I kind of wanted to throw that question to both of you. Um, so how do you think your beliefs would differ if you weren't a Christian? Would they differ at all if you weren't a Christian? I feel like they'd have to differ some, but we'll see.
Yeah, that was an interesting one to think about. I think what I came up with at the end of that was, if I had never, it's hard to imagine me not being saved because there wasn't a, Saul DePaul moment where I was suddenly,
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I did present this question to them earlier, so it's not just like I'm throwing it on them now and they just have an answer automatically ready.
yeah, I thought about it a little bit beforehand. Um, no, I came up with all this off the top of my head. No, but like I never had a big conversion moment or a big cool like testimony or story. So it's hard to imagine like a specific moment that I could say, "Oh, this moment could have not happened." I think it was like when I was 7, or I was in the living room and I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense," and then I accepted Jesus, and that was that. Um, so I'm trying to think like the only way that I could have grown up and not have kind of grown up as a Christian would be if my parents weren't Christians. Then I could see me not, believing in Christianity or the Bible for several years down the road. But if all that didn't happen, given everything else was the same, parents' influence, you know, cultural influence, except for the Christianity part, um, I think I would probably be a lot more hardcore of an anarchist than I am. And I say that because around 2016 I started learning about libertarians and voluntarism with liberty memes, and it all made sense. And that's kind of where I am today. But the thing that's holding me back from going, full anarchist or whatever the term is Christianity, because we've got biblical mandates to, be good citizens and be respectful in our discussions in the marketplace of ideas and not cause unnecessary trouble. And like the Babylonian exiles, God said, if you should hope that the nation that you are exiled in prospers, because if it prospers, then you will prosper. And so that's kind of the mentality I've had. Um, so, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I think if I didn't have that strong conviction from the Bible, I would probably go a lot more anarchist, because I think a lot of those ideas make sense. Um, as far as like government not being legitimate, it's literally just a piece of paper. That kind of stuff
Mm-hmm.
upsets a lot of people, but um, I think there's some valid points there, even as a Christian. But um, how much I how much action I put into that really is determined by how much I believe that in the biblical mandates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Jack.
I was
All
thinking
right.
about this, and I think I would be a really hardcore objectivist, like atheist. Just
Interesting.
like kind of to the extent of Ayn Rand. Um, I would say other like outside the Bible, the most impactful book on my life was Atlas Shrugged, which
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't know. I want to say opened my mind to just a whole another line of thinking. Like, what if you cut out man from the equation and just made it material, and just figure how like what would happen if the man got in the way of my material, and what would it look like for me to hold the material more important than the man,
Mm-hmm.
or the ability to have that material. So that was just an interesting thing to think about, and I think that it would not have been hard for me to follow that if I wasn't already a Christian and you know understand the value of human life.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, um, kind of along the lines of what Jack and Ethan did, but differing a little, I probably would lean more into my libertarian beliefs. I don't know. I don't think I'd ever go full anarchist because my kind of not restrictions, but what withholds me from being an anarchist is one, of course, my Christian beliefs, but also the fact that I believe just as humans crave freedom, they also crave some type of order. So I think governments would just form naturally, and there really isn't anything we could do to stop that. Um, so I don't think I'd ever be a full anarchist, but I would probably lean more into libertarian beliefs, maybe flirting with subjective morality. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't have a problem with any moral issue with homosexuality, drug use, uh, pornography, prostitution, anything like that. I probably would not have a moral problem with other people doing that. As for myself, I don't know. I'd like to think I wouldn't partake in those things, but without Christ, we're lost souls anyway, so it's hard to say. Um, so I'd probably lean more towards, just do whatever you want, just don't hurt me, that type of thing, a very kind of selfish line of thinking. I haven't read all of Atlas Shrugged, so I can't say it's influenced my life heavily, but I did find objectivism interesting, yet I could never believe it as a Christian. But without that, I may lean towards that a little bit too. Yeah, so that's probably where I lead towards.
It's scary to imagine life without Christ.
Yeah, it is.
Where
It
would
really
that be?
is.
Um, another, as far as religion goes, I might be more of a spiritualist, or like the Eastern religions, like the whole yin yang thing about like order and chaos, and um, I might I could maybe see myself have leaned into that if I wasn't a Christian. Just the idea of like trying to find a balance or whatever. Um, also, as far as like extraterrestrials go, that idea has always fascinated me. I don't think it lines up with a biblical worldview. So no, I don't think there's life out in the universe. But if I wasn't a Christian, I would probably think that there was. I've always liked that idea. Thought it'd be cool. I would probably be pushing for more exploration so we can find, another hospitable planet out there, other signs of life, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Aliens.
Yeah.
Would you have been at Area 51? That's the question.
Yes.
Would I have gone? Oh,
Yes.
I would
definitely.
have gone as a Christian.
You would have got it.
Yeah, actually, that's probably one of my biggest regrets from 2019 is that I didn't fly out there to Area 51.
Hmm. Yeah. As far as religion goes for me, I'd probably, like, if I was raised by the same parents, just no Christian influences, I'd probably end up being an agnostic at most. I don't know if I'd ever go like full hardcore atheist. I'd probably be a lukewarm agnostic and just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, like we can't know if there's God or not.
Yeah, like we can't know.
Well, I know that Eli wanted to answer that too, so maybe on the next episode you guys can ask him.
Yeah, yeah. Eli and Zach definitely wanted to answer that. But yeah, that just I got thinking about that, with all the kind of chaos going on in the world right now. I was like, how would I react to this if I wasn't a Christian? And even as a Christian, it's kind of hard to know how to react to it. Sometimes you're like, all right, should I, be really against the government and what they're doing to the point of civil disobedience or even more? Or should I, just let it happen and have faith? And obviously, the latter, I'd say, probably lines up with Scripture a little more. Um, but it is hard to kind of fight those feelings of rebellion.
Yeah, I get that. For me, like, um, starting with, I was working at Jimmy John's, and then I was moving across the country while this started happening. Stuff was shutting down behind us as we were, going across. We visited the Grand Canyon just in time. A few days afterwards, it was closed, so we barely made it across. And then we started working at Walmart. So I'm there almost every day. So I've never really had a chance and I don't have friends to go visit, right? So I've not really. Everyone's posting like, "Oh, I'm sick of this quarantine." I haven't really experienced it.
Yeah.
Um, the closest thing I have is like tight living conditions in a camping trailer, which is not that bad. So I've not been trapped at home. Um, so I guess I haven't really been taking them seriously, all these regulations, because I've been going to work and we've been visiting our different relatives and stuff. So I just kind of, in my mind, they're just kind of ridiculous, and I can probably talk my way out of it if I get pulled over for having an out-of-state plate. That's kind of what's been going through my mind. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of again hard to find a good balance between, like, yeah, I want to go to church, I want to see people I know. I don't think it's wrong if we take reasonable precautions. Don't want to intentionally, you know, drink out of the same glass as my great great grandmother. I mean, that's just unsafe during this time. Um, so I think I can make that decision responsibly. But on the other hand, I want to go out and walk around in large groups of people just despite the government orders, and that's just a part of me that will never go away. So that's what I got to live with.
Yeah.
Ethan, would you be a sovereign citizen if you weren't a Christian?
Oh, I definitely would be.
uh, um, I don't know. If I wasn't a Christian, my plan would probably be to move out of America and join one of those ocean cities that's forming.
Oh,
Everyone's collecting, and that if you get a big enough mass, you can like float like 13 miles off the shore, international waters.
Have you heard of Liberland?
Have your own anarchist
I
village.
have heard of Liberland. I don't know much about it, but I've heard the name.
It's a sovereign state between like Croatia and Serbia or something.
Whoa.
It's a
Interesting.
constitutional republic with elements of direct democracy. 2 vice presidents and 5 ministers.
Hmm.
Hmm.
The motto, to live and let live.
Yeah. Don't hurt people and don't take their stuff.
Yeah.
That's another reason. Like I hear all this stuff about, oh, it's socialism because we're all getting $1,200. Like, if you've paid $1,200 or more in taxes, you're literally just getting your own money back, in my opinion.
You're not getting enough of it back, in my opinion, but
Yeah, that's right. But like, I would feel morally wrong if I was getting a $10,000 check because I literally haven't paid that much in taxes. That's stolen money that's being put
yeah.
into my account. I would probably, I mean, if it was a physical check, I wouldn't use it because that's not my money. But $1,200, I've paid that much in taxes. That's my money coming back to me. I don't see that as socialism. I'm okay with taking that. Like Ragnar Danaskjöld in Atlas Shrugged, he's a repossessor. He would take the gold that was being shipped over to Europe to be, worthlessly spent and lost, and give it back to the people who it really belonged to, like Hank Rearden and the other CEOs. I wish he existed today. I would join his crew.
Oh, we could have him on the show.
Oh, we should have him on the show. Last.
Who would you want from Atlas Shrugged on the show, like, primarily?
I'd want Hank Rearden. He'd just be like an interesting person to talk to. He probably wouldn't say much, though.
I would want, like, no offense to John Galt, but I would want Francisco d'Anconia.
That's what I was thinking, actually.
Like, that guy led an interesting life.
I really need to
That
finish
guy's
this
like
book.
the John McAfee of Atlas Shrugged. Well, is this the future libertarians want?
What is the future libertarians want? Seems like a lot of us can't agree. It's kind of sad. But when you have an ideology based on, kind of complete individualism, it's not a surprise to see that everyone kind of labels each other not purists.
Yeah.
That's true. How many different wings of libertarianism are there?
Okay, there's anarchism, there's minarchism, there's like Libertarian Party libertarianism.
Libertarian
There's
socialism. How does that work?
There's libertines. I think those are like left leaning libertarians. There's like conservative leaning libertarians.
There's libertarian socialism. Rent is theft.
Which is
Rent
just like the
is-
biggest oxymoron.
That's just
Such an
communism.
oxymoron.
That's pure communism.
It's soft communism with the word libertarian slapped in front of it.
Yeah. I think it's called democratic socialism.
They want strong government, but just a small amount of it.
Okay.
A small amount of very strong government and rent is theft.
And rent is theft.
I mean, like, the only real distinction I make when I tell people who aren't familiar with libertarianism is pro-life libertarianism versus pro-choice libertarianism.
That is really the only big point of contention with me well, I know a lot of libertarians are pro-life, but that is the only big point where I would disagree with a lot of them, especially the party, because I believe the party is pro-choice, but there are a lot of pro-life candidates, so...
Their official position is that it's not something that should be left up to the government, and it should be left up to each person.
That's one area I disagree. I think it should be left up to the government, because the government's one job in both Scripture and the Constitution is to protect life. So...
Liberty.
And liberty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it should be illegal and not just up to every doctor.
Yeah.
For sure. I know some people are like, oh, I fear having a government that's big enough to enforce closure on every abortion clinic and like enforce punishment for every abortion doctor. I'm like, I don't really.
Yeah.
I fear a government that's big enough to like track down all that stuff, but as for having it illegal, I'm fine with that. Just like murder is illegal because it's
Like,
the same thing.
I would personally care more about having a culture that just despises abortion, but I'll take a government that outright bans it if that's not the case, just because I care about not murdering children in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not okay with a government that has the power to prevent murder, whether that's adult homicide or abortion. But I am okay with a government that makes it illegal and punishes those who have been proven to have committed it.
Have you seen how like Trump has gone around like the laws to try to take out abortion?
Well, a lot of states just banned abortion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but instead instead of banning abortion, he has pushed for the cutting of like government aid or government subsidies to abortion clinics or to doctors who provide abortions. So I believe in Missouri there aren't even any abortion clinics left because they don't have any money. So I think that's a really smart way to.
Yeah, and that's something libertarians can get behind because even if they support abortion, they're not going to say, well, the government should definitely fund this. They'd be like, no, if you want an abortion, you have to pay for it.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that might be a good rallying point for
Yeah,
the
that's at
group.
least one step better than what we have now.
Yeah, it's small, but like I said, some progress is better than no progress.
And I'm okay with government cutting funding to any of its programs for any reason.
Yes.
I'm trying to find a government now or a government program that should not be cut.
It should not be
But I
cut.
can't.
You can't. I challenge you.
Like,
You
like
cannot.
even if it's not like cut out entirely, it should just be reduced in like their budget should be reduced drastically. Every single one of them. Some in
You mean we shouldn't send aid to coke snorting quails in Uganda or wherever? I love Rand Paul going through all those lists.
Yeah, no, we should not be sending aid to coke snorting quails.
The quails here, when you walk up to them, they don't fly away. They just run away super fast. It's funny.
Uh,
So, anyone got any good libertarian jokes?
hey, what did communists use for light before candles?
Electricity.
Ah, all right.
Classic.
Anyway, that's the one I have. There's probably other ones, but I can't think of them right now.
The government.
The government in your town uses its tax dollars efficiently.
Oh, I have that on
Except
my
I'm
TikTok.
crying.
Except I'm crying. Uh, well, here's something. Okay, so if there were one moment in history that you could have been alive for and been a libertarian for, what would it be? Mine probably would have been either Ron Paul's campaign in '08, because I was only 7 at the time, so I really didn't know what was going on, or probably the American Revolution. Granted, that's kind of the birth of libertarianism, not the party, but the belief system. So I think it would have been interesting to see the mindset at that time.
I know what my event would not have been.
What would it not have been?
It would not have been 9/11, because in the ensuing aftermath, I would have cringed harder and harder as every new regulation
And
and
every new war?
liberty was taken away.
Patriot Act.
Ooh.
Wars. Ooh.
Ugh.
I would think it would be interesting to live through World War II as a libertarian,
Oh, that would be
because you get
interesting.
so much more context than you get today in the history books and by talking to people. But like just living it and then getting all the news and stuff as a libertarian would be kind of
The
interesting.
Cold War would be good because that's kind of when you start seeing the large growth of the government as it's like, oh, we're here to protect you from communists. And so it kind of would have been interesting to see the growing divide between government and its people.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of libertarians like totally justify World War II,
Oh yeah,
and maybe for good
it
reason,
is
but I'd like to live
justifiable.
through it and see what I would think if I was living back then.
We were attacked.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, well, actually, that's another question that I'll get to a separate time because we are running out of time. So, Jack, go ahead.
Uh, I think just for my own knowledge, I would want to live in like very early America, like
Like
1790s,
Roanoke?
maybe like 1820s. No. Like United States,
Oh,
like
okay. I thought you meant like
Washington,
English
Adams, Jefferson
settlements.
presidencies,
Oh, yeah.
because I want to know what their conflict was, since they were like the people who are running against each other for president are the people who wrote the Constitution. And I kind of want to know, like, what were the debates going on
I want to
back
see
then?
the gears turn in Hamilton's head when he's like, freedom, but also monarchy.
Not freedom.
Hear me
Yeah.
out, guys.
I have a brilliant new idea. We have a king.
It's just like the British model we overthrew.
Exactly.
It'll be great. Because as long as you get the right king, the right absolute dictator, then you're fine.
Then you're perfect.
That's why I'm glad that Bernie dropped out of the race, and now it's just Trump and Biden, because the search for the best two candidates for president has finally concluded.
I know.
So they say. But New York canceled its primary. And if other states cancel their primaries, Biden may not have the number of delegates required for a majority. Meaning that conceivably someone could enter.
Is Tulsi Gabbard still running?
No, she dropped
Oh,
out,
okay.
sadly. Also, she endorsed Biden.
Ugh. Thought she had principles.
Yeah.
I guess not.
Wait, hold up. It looks like she's still running.
Really?
No, she's not.
Oh, okay. Well, her campaign website's still asking for money.
Oh.
Well, every politician's website always has a donate button in without having to scroll. Usually.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, yeah. So this was a fun one to have. You know, I wanted to do a political one of these for a while, and these are the two best co-hosts I could have asked for to do this one with.
And the best thing is we said Trump only like 3 times.
Four times
the
now.
whole duration. 4 times.
Out comes the re card.
All right. Well, we're at the 43-minute mark, and my computer's telling me I only have disk space remaining for 27 more minutes of recording. So,
Not good.
not good at all. I'm gonna have to delete some stuff when I'm done with this. All right. So let's go ahead and say our farewells. Ethan, being the furthest away, you may go first. And I don't have to promote your pages this time, which I've been doing the past 2 times.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I haven't even noticed. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Please follow my page, Original Great Taste Liberty Memes, to fund Saw Gerrera's anarchist dreams. And join my Facebook group. I would sooner believe emails from wealthy Nigerian princes than this story. And I'm one of your co-hosts, Ethan Johnson. It's been real.
Jack?
I'm trying to remember all the things that Zach used to say. Follow the Patriarchy Twitter at We Are Patriarchs. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Smash that like button.
Smash it!
Obliterate it. Smash it like the patriarchy.
Yeah, you guys know what to do. Send us your James fan art.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, please. We need to see it.
Oh, we didn't James was not in the studio today. We have not...
No, he wasn't.
We have not...
He wasn't.
Yeah, he's on
vacation.
He's on vacation.
He's in Florida at the beach.
He's still in
All the
quarantine.
beaches in Florida.
Yeah, we sent him out in one of those like inflatable balls, so he's just like running around in that thing.
Yeah.
Because he was sick with COVID
Exactly.
for a while.
Yeah. All right, well.
He got over it.
He's
though.
good now.
Comment below.
Anyway, so I'm Edward, and I am also one of your hosts, and it's been great talking libertarianism and Christianity, some of my favorite things to talk about with people. Like they said, subscribe to the channel. Leave all your questions or topics you want us to discuss below. And anything else, guys?
I was just going to say, in the words of Dagny Taggart in Atlas Shrugged, we never had to take any of it seriously, did we?
That is very true when it comes to this podcast. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.